Mr. Hoppercamp.
Here.
Ms. Johnson. Here. Ms. Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Schindler.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Young.
Here.
Mayor Francis.
Please join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are no proclamations. Committee reports, we'll start with Dawn.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to the Thrivent food pantry workers that had left bins around the town. Some locations did very, very well, I guess, according to foot traffic, and they very nicely donated that food back to the community center. So now we can offer that to people that just need a little extra to get through. So if you know anyone that could use a little bit of help, or if you yourself, feel free to come in and grab some food. Also, I just wanted to say that everything at the community center is going extremely well. We have something going on almost daily. But I do want to apologize for the snafu. Last Tuesday, I got a lot of calls and emails, rightfully so, that the Journey bus had not shown up last Tuesday. So I did call and investigate that. They will be here next Tuesday, the 9th, this coming Tuesday. With all the storms, we had some severe storms last Tuesday, if memory serves, and high winds. And so they were not able to come down. But we did establish that they would let us know from now on whenever they have these kinds of difficulties. So I apologize for anyone that was wanting to speak to a county representative last Tuesday. But if you need to speak with a county representative this Tuesday, November 9th, they will be in the parking lot in front of the community center from 1 to 3. Other than that, everything is going very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Brad, you're up.
Mayor is a senior liaison for the council. I'd just like to clarify the current status of our senior center for the benefit of all of our seniors. The upstairs area is currently operating under requirements as established by the county and is currently providing meals daily, Monday through Friday, to an average of 50 to 60 people. The requirements of the Department of Health allow us to provide takeaway meals. However, we cannot open this area up any further until the COVID-19 requirements change. However, the downstairs area of the senior center is being used daily for the seniors' activities such as various classes, exercise programs, bingo, stitching classes, nail clinic, to name just a few. After hours, the senior center is fully used by nonprofit organizations from Hopatcong. I would just like to list a few of them: Warriors Program, the Knee Deep Program, Club, I should say, CERT, Little League, Soccer, Coast Guard, Girl Scouts. I just hope this helps clarify how the senior center is currently being used under these conditions. I would also like to go out and invite all of our citizens to our annual Veterans Day observance on November the 11th at 11 a.m. at Veterans Park. Again, we will also pay tribute to several new recipients of our Hometown Heroes Program banner program. Hopefully the weather will cooperate this year. And in closing, I would just like to congratulate Councilwoman Dawn Roberts and Councilman Ryan Smith on their resounding victory, and we happily welcome them to another term.
Thank you. Rich, you're up.
I just want to congratulate also Dawn and Ryan. The other 3 years, congratulations. Let's see, the Water Committee met today actually, and one of the big things that we were discussing was the PFAS and the PFOAs and the DEP. And just to bring everyone up to speed, we have ordered a filter, carbon filter, for one of the wells. We have back now from a bid opening results for the next 2 wells. We have money for 2 of the wells. And there is a issue that I want to tell everyone about, that ultimately we need to have this done by June. And we are doing this with grant money. So we don't have to raise the rates of the water utility, which is obviously a big issue. We don't want to do that. If we don't get this money, possibly we might have to look at that or look at some other type of loans or whatever. But we are trying to work with the feds who are actually giving us some money and the Murphy administration to help with the DEP to have them back off a little bit, since we are one of the first towns that is actually putting in these filters for the water system. We're really ahead of the curve on this. And we are hoping that ultimately we should have 4 of these wells done. We have 6 that we're looking at doing that would basically fill out the whole water system. And we're looking at trying to get 4 of them done by this deadline of June. And since it is a DEP arbitrary number, I know they put a number on it, but the EPA says it's 70 parts per trillion, and they came out with 13 and 14 parts per trillion. It's a huge drop. And, you know, the results that we have from some of these wells, it's only over a little bit. So not to play this down at all, this is a issue we are definitely rectifying because the DEP wants us to, but I believe that there is some room here that if we don't hit the June deadline, that we will do it soon after. Part of the other reason that we possibly might not is because of ordering and getting these filters in. Because of COVID, and if anyone knows in their businesses trying to get parts or trying to get assets, boy, things are all delayed. And even this first one is now delayed. And that's why we're trying to get these next 3 or next 2, 3 filters in the line and ordered. But the issue is you need the money first to be able to officially, you know, put out the proper bid and accept it. So just to bring everyone up to speed, we are working on this and it is moving forward. And the John Rushke, our engineer, has really put together a great program to correct this. And I think ultimately in the end, all of our water users will be happy with the results. And if it all goes well, it's all going to be done hopefully with grant money. Don't hold me to that, but that is our goal. And we probably have 75% of it covered. Just looking for a little more. So hopefully we'll get it all. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. John, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I would like to congratulate Councilwoman Roberts and Councilman Smith on their victories yesterday. Glad to have you for another term. From the Alliance, we have a meeting coming up next week, but we are looking to get back into the school and start doing some of our activities, promote anti-drugs, as well as some of our, hopefully get back to our movie nights. From the Environmental Commission, we had a meeting last week. We had some talk on the new website and putting our page together. One of the things we want to put on there is a gallery of events. We had some conversation about the ongoing Eagle Scout project at Mountain Inlet. We have a new sign coming for the rain garden at the senior center. We had more conversation regarding Witten Park. As always, we talked about invasive species, which there are a lot. The most current is garlic mustard. It's a plant. It's not a spice. The beautification committee will be out soon. They have to remove the canna lilies from Maxim Glen, and they can't do that until after the first frost, which I think we had last night.
I think.
So I'm sure they'll be out there soon. We also, we talked about a while ago, and I brought it up here, we talked about having a program where people could adopt a drain and just help clean out the surface of the drain, not get inside the drain, but just keep debris and leaves and whatnot from the top of the drain. And we've got a map. We've from the engineer, we've got all the drains in town are mapped. The litter cleanup this year was not as good as last year. I don't know if that's a question of not enough volunteers or less litter. I'm gonna be positive and think there was less litter. Also, the Lake Hopatcong Foundation block party was a little bit smaller this year. We also had a very interesting presentation from the New Jersey Audubon, a young woman by the name of Kristen Hook. The presentation was titled Gardening for Wildlife, and it was all about things that homeowners can do for wildlife. I'm sure we'll have more information on that soon. Two facts that I definitely remember. In the United States, there's 50,000 square miles of lawn. So I always wonder why my lawnmower is never big enough. And also, half the world wildlife has vanished since 1970. Those were two very interesting facts. It was a very nice presentation. So that's it. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Don. Ryan, you're up.
Okay, Sussex County Chamber of Commerce, B2B breakfast is November 9th. Our next Chamber of Commerce meeting for Sussex South is November 12th. Over at the Sussex County Municipal Utilities Authority, the next hazardous waste event is November 6th. The next paper shredding event is November 19th. I want to give a big thank you to the fire department for hosting 2 different trunk or treats for Halloween. They were fun, and the kids enjoyed that. Thank you so much. I also want to thank all our first responders, which includes the fire department, the police department, the ambulance squad, and the dispatchers for keeping our borough safe during Halloween. To my fellow council members, I noticed that the road vacation for Hopatcong Street is no longer on the agenda. I want to express my gratitude for that. I'm not in support of that. I'm also asking you to help me find a way to rid our borough of the liability of that dock while still maintaining that fire lane as a non-parking area. That needs to be legally enforceable. So thank you for taking the road vacation off the agenda. And that's all I got.
Jen, you're up.
I don't have much. I wanted to thank the Northwood Community Association for the block party on the 24th of October. They had invited the council to. It was lovely to be up there, and I thank you very much for being invited. Wanted to thank the Hopatcong Fire Department for their trunk or treats. They were fun. My kids had a great time. Got a lot of candy, which we then donated. And that's all I have.
Thank you. John, Ron, Administrator report.
2 quick things. I want to officially declare that the paving is done, and we've gotten through this year's of paving. And as we always say, please, we appreciated everybody's patience with the traffic and the hiccups when we come in and mill and we pay and we have trucks all over the place and kids are trying to get on the bus and all that other stuff. So there's one last request or a suggestion to the public. Please, now that the paving's done, watch your speed. that's always the second thing that comes around. We got potholes, we get them cleared up, and then here we go. We got speeders. So please maintain the proper speed on the new roads. The last thing I have, the DOT has awarded their 2022 paving awards to Sussex County. Hopatcong was one of 2 boroughs to receive the highest portions of that money at $203,000 and some change, and that's going to be dedicated to Hopatcong and Bell Avenue. So that will be awarded that's the DOT grant that will be awarded for next year.
That includes sidewalk.
Yep. So that's all I got.
Thank you. I entertain a motion now to open the meeting to the public.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
An opportunity given to the public. Comments are limited to 1 comment for no more than 5 minutes. So welcome, public.
Lisa Hirschfeld, 23 Ithanel Road. Just one thing, I would like to congratulate both Councilwoman Dawn Roberts and Councilman Ryan Smith on their reelection, overwhelming reelection. We are so thankful that you're going to be serving our borough as public servants, not politicians, but as public servants for the next 3 years. So I just want to say congratulations again on a great win.
Next up. Welcome.
Hi.
Arendis, 28 Isabel Avenue. First off, congratulations. That's a great win. You guys do a great job. And thank you all for coming to the block party who was able to attend. It was a great turnout. I just want to double check on this road that was taken off the agenda. I understand it was taken off, but I don't know what that means. What's next steps? What happens? What do we have to watch for as far as the fire lane goes and the dock? And that's my comment. Thank you.
Good evening. Again, congratulations in order. Ryan, thank you for bringing up the Hopatcong Street. I wrote something because my brain can't remember everything that I want to say when I get up here. So I'm a little confused too, like Patty was. I thought it was brought back on and then you vote it down until a solution. So you're going to have to explain that to me on how you can just take something off without bringing it back when you had said. The other thing I was just saying is, I know Zoom meetings, a lot of people have been asking me, you know, are there any Zoom sessions yet? Any Zoom sessions? Again, like I said last month, if you have issues, talk to the high school, talk to their audio department. You know, these kids need community service to graduate. And I can almost surely say that somebody, one of these whiz kids would love to help and everything. And this, can we put on the second public comment at the end of the meetings like they used to be? Thank you. Madam Boyd, first let me say congratulations, and I have a question for Councilman Smith. Since you're involved with the Chamber of Commerce and the Business Association, can you explain why the senior Christmas party, which is funded by the county, the borough, and seniors' money, is allowed to be held outside of the county? Shouldn't we be using businesses in the county? And Councilwoman Roberts, you frequently bought $500 worth of gift cards and $50 denominations. Can you please explain how the residents can apply for these gift cards and who makes the decision as to who receives the cards? And this has been an ongoing thing with the $500, so I think people would like to know. Thank you.
What's up? More public? One?
I'll have to bring back. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're back. Back on street, I'll do the best I can. When there's two ways to handle an ordinance that's on the agenda. You can either wrote it down at table. There's no clock on the table, and pretty much sometimes that ordinance will just die a natural death. Am I wrong, John?
It's tabled without a date, that's correct.
Yes. And so,
It was tabled with a date.
so then we'll bring it back on that date, and the council will,
It was the date.
so it did not show on the agenda because we didn't have enough information. We're talking to Lola about the dock. And so I didn't want to do something that would affect one, affect the other.
So let's do this. It should have appeared on the agenda because it was tabled to today's date. So perhaps the council can take a vote, table it to the next meeting so it properly appears on the agenda, and then you can make a decision about whether to keep tabling it or act upon it or vote it down. But it would be proper for it to appear on the agenda that the council dictated, so I think it's easily solved by.
Or the council can decide tonight whether or not to put it down.
Well, okay, but
Which should be advertised.
it's not on the agenda, so to hold a public, it's a second reading of an ordinance, to hold a public hearing and vote it down would also not be proper.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the right cure here is to move it to the next agenda. Council people are free to telegraph to the public what they intend to do with it. I'll leave that
Okay.
up to them, but I think it should appear on an agenda, and if, And then at that time, council people can decide, the council, I should say, can decide whether to end consideration of that ordinance as written or do something.
Fair enough. That's the pleasure of the council. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion
Second.
Make a motion to what? To go-
to put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, it's really what this motion is, because there was some confusion, is to bring it off the table so that it appears on the next meeting, so it can officially take its course.
Fair enough.
Next meeting's December 1st, right? Yeah.
Call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Hoppercamp.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Schindler.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
It'll be on December 1st, and I apologize for the confusion. All right, what are we now? Approval of minutes. Approval of the October 20, 2041 minutes.
Right, there was two
Mike,
more,
there were two other
there were
questions.
two more questions.
There are three more questions.
Oh. Whoops. I left my list.
Hey, Mike.
What?
I think Dawn's can take on that $500 issue that someone brought up.
Well, we'll get there, but I want to talk about the meeting, This council decided to have live meetings, and I have my own opinion, but it's always at the pleasure of the council, always. And so, that being said, this is the official meeting. I have Regional Lake and Hopatcong News here that does the meeting. It's on YouTube, as all our meetings are, in a very timely fashion, so that's a public record, but this is the official meeting. Now, dual meetings, I want to talk to a couple of towns. Randolph, I think, is one that does it. And we're going to talk about the technology, because it's a complicated issue, and I understand the meeting issue. And one of my points was, I kind of like the Zoom meeting, because it's very, very available. You can sit in your room and have them. Coming to this room is, I believe, a hardship on our seniors and people who have the inability to come to this meeting. Having this meeting at the pleasure of the council, I want to be clear with that. And so having dual meetings requires record keeping that could be a living nightmare. I know it sounds good to have two. I know it's really nice and really convenient. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. We really like that. But with the Oprah situation that they are now, we would have to have, if we did dual meetings, we'd have to have the personnel to run and actually manage the second meeting. Responsible people, not high school students, I'm sorry. We might use that technology at the end of the day, I'm not sure. But there's a cost to that. And not quite so sure about our storage space, because the Zoom meetings now, if we go back to Zoom meetings, again, at the pleasure of the council, we have to revisit our storage space, because that electronic storage is a matter of record. That can be opened. So that Zoom meeting that you think is on, that's recorded. That's a digital recording. And someone come in and Oprah that actual footage. This meeting, they can Oprah this recording and my clerk's physical minutes. If you have two of that going on at the same time, you have two sets of records. And the Oprah people would have a field day with that. They have a perfect right to do that. But I'm telling you, the stress and the expense it puts on our system. The question is, what do we really want and what do we really need? So I don't mind two meetings. You can live stream a meeting, that's okay. But managing two sets of public comment could be a logistical nightmare. Who answers the phone? Who answers the text? Who answers anything at each meeting? But this is a meeting. And if you have a Zoom meeting, that's another universe. And you have to manage that universe. And volunteers cannot manage a public meeting. That's us. That's this council, that's this clerk, and that's our legal people. So that's what we have to deal with. I'll continue looking at it, and I'll talk to other towns like I've been known to do. But, we'll look into that, and it would be nice if we could have that. But is it practical? That's the question. And so that's addresses the Zoom issue. We'll continue. I'm positive Randolph is one of the towns that has tried to do it. And I'll look at, I know the mayor of Somerville, not Morristown. And so we'll have a little chat and see how that works. But we're not gonna do anything that's gonna compromise the borough. Or have someone have a field day saying, see, you screwed that up. I'm bad enough at missing stuff as it is. So to expose us to a dual meeting where there's two official meetings, logistically, we gotta be really careful of how we do that. And everything is fine till someone sues you. Then you say, oh, yeah, you should have known better. Well, I'm telling you, this is the official meeting, and when we have official meetings, we're gonna be responsible for them. And if we have two, we'll try to manage that as the very best we can. And nothing will happen without legal counsel and without technical counsel. So I helped you, hope I helped you with that. And if someone wants a live stream, many of our meetings have been live streamed. I don't care. You want to bring a camera in here and live stream a meeting? Have at it. Have a nice day. But it's your record, not mine. And so you have to know the legal ramifications of that. And when you see what people do and what this time is exposed to, that's real. That's real. And some of the Oprah questions we get keep my clerk busy and the staff busy for hours and hours, and sometimes that's what we're wrestling with in-person meeting and Zoom meeting. It sounds nice until you get into the devil's in the detail. And when you get into the weeds on this, it's really complex if you do it right. If we didn't care, yeah, fine, have to. But I do care. And I'm not going to close the town to anything that would compromise us. Don, if you would, with the gift cards, the short answer to your question is it's run through the community center with people in need. And we don't have a parade. We don't have a lot of forms to fill out. We have the people that recognize people in need. And Don, if you want to continue, go ahead.
Yes, the $500 spent for the gift cards in $50 increments, those are for the people of our town in the very worst circumstances. That money does not come from the taxpayers or anyone in the town. It comes from donations. Those donations, those monetary donations from the kind people of our town, their identities are not up for public consumption. The problems that people are facing are not here for public consumption. What I will say is that they present to me their circumstances as the director of the community center. They present those circumstances to me. I give them the card if circumstances warrant. And then I have a record of their name, their address, if they have one, and I have them sign for the card. And then I turn every batch of $500, again, comes purely from our donations. I turn that over to Lorraine, our CFO. She and I are the only ones that know who those people are. But for the sake of transparency, even though it's coming out of donations, we put it on the bills list so people that donate to us can see we are being good stewards of the money. And then also with Lorraine having my records of all the signatures of people that signed for it, long after I'm gone, there will always be a hard copy and a digital record, a chain of custody for every card that was given out. So I hope that clears up any confusion about that. That is purely for people, like I said, in circumstances that are not up for public consumption, nor are their identities. And I will say, we'll go a little bit further and say, we have some folks that during COVID lost jobs, lost insurance. And for some of those people, I was able to get their prescriptions switched over to the ShopRite pharmacy. And for a lot of these people, they're using that $50 gift card to get much needed medicine, like diabetic supplies, inhalers, things of that nature. For some people, that's the only way they're getting their medication right now. Our state is not stepping up, but our town is, Hopatcong is stepping up, this council is, this community center is. And everyone's getting what they need, when they need it. As long as we have the resources, we'll keep on doing it. So I hope that puts it all to rest for everyone.
Thank you. And the senior party is funded, and there's no rule that says where we can have it or not have it. So, and sometimes the best venues could be in Rock area somewhere. We might not have the venues in the Hopatcong that serve that purpose, that's economically feasible. So we watch how we spend that money also. What did I miss? Did I miss that? Oh, the second set of comments, we can talk about that and for what purpose. So if we want to move them back further into the agenda, we can look into doing that, but we'll certainly consider that. I'll poll the council and talk about where we want to move them. I doubt that we're going to have two, and if we had two, maybe you have 2.5 minutes for each one. But we're not gonna spend 10 or 15 minutes of public comment. That just doesn't work. Hasn't worked. So I'll poll the council and I'll talk to each council person and get their opinion on that, and then we'll have a consensus. So I don't have to do that, but I will do that. And so this governing body is responsible, and that's how we do that. So I will do that before the next meeting. We'll have an answer for you on that. Okay? All right. I think I got everything. All right. Approval of minutes. Approval of the October 20th, 2021 minutes.
I'll move them.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Hoppercamp.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Schindler.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
All right. Approval of bill list.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone need anything discussed or removed?
Yes, John. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, John.
Thank you. Can we remove 21-01734?
Okay. Got it.
Remove it. I also need removed.
That's the
Is
report.
it He's working.
Hey, the heat's working.
Awesome. 21-01346.
Okay.
And then I think that 21-01677 has to be held until after we pass the resolution for that. That's the overpayment and overtaxing.
Okay. All right, I will move the bill list, not including 21-01734, 21-01346, and 21-01677.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Do I have to abstain on all of them?
No.
What?
Oh, I
You
removed
just
those
pull
out.
them out.
Okay,
them
oh,
out.
yes, I
Hold them.
apologize. Yes. Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Schindler.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes. Since we actually have enough without Dawn or Jen, so I'm going to move both 21-01734 and 21-01346.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Ms. Roberts.
Abstain.
Mr. Schindler.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
And that was resolution 2021-145, by the way.
Okay.
Pretty good with.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to do 21-01677
After.
All right, approval of consent agenda.
I'll move it.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Schindler.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Ordinances, there are no introductions. Final hearing, ordinance 27-2021, amending chapter 189, short-term rentals. An ordinance adopting amendment to chapter 189, short-term rentals in the code of the Borough of Hopatcong.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Oh, we have to.
Oh, open it to the public, I'm sorry.
We have to make a motion. to open the public.
I'll make that. Second.
No comment? Okay,
Move to bring it back.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Call the roll.
Mr. Hoppercamp.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
Mr. Schindler.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Ordinance 28, 2021, auction of borough property, 321 Elmira Trail, 4 Winding Hill Road, and 634 Durban Avenue. An ordinance of the Borough of Hopatcong, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, authorized the sale of certain properties owned by the borough and not required for public purposes and more commonly known as 321 Elmira Trail, Block 40204, Lot 10, 4 Winding Hill Road, Block 10906, Lot 1, and 634 Durban Avenue, Block 11107, Lot 26.
So move it. Second. Open it to the public.
Yeah, open it to public for public comment. Hearing none,
Bring it back.
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
And the, call the roll.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Auction date will be December 1st. Ordinance 29, 2021, auction of borough property, 14 Keith Road and 62 Northwood Road. An ordinance of Borough of Hopatcong, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, authorizing the sale of certain properties owned by the borough and not required for public purposes, more commonly known as 14 Keith Road, Block 40105, Lot 7, and 62 Northwood Road, Block 70218, Lot 50.
So move. Second.
I'll open that to the public for comments or questions. Hearing none,
Move to bring it back.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution,
Move.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
resolution 2021-146, refund of tax overpayment for block 31614, lot 12.
So move. Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Resolution 2021-147, refund of tax overpayment for block 50603, lot 2.
So move.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-148, salaries for crossing guards.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-149, purchase of a single axle truck.
So move. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-150, authorizing the submission of a grant application to Sussex County Trails Grant Program.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-151, transfer of current fund appropriations.
So move.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Young.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-153, approval of blue collar contract memorandum of agreement 2020-2025.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
You want to do that, Bill?
Oh, yes. Mayor, I would like to move Bill 21-01677.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoppercamp,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson. Yes. Ms. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Old business. New business, discussion regarding best practices. Is that you?
Well, this is a requirement. What we do is every year we do a best practice inventory. And once we've answered all the appropriate questions on that, requirement for that before we can submit it, that it becomes in front of the board. There's no decision here to be made, there's no voting to be made. It's a mere fact that we put it on the agenda. If anybody had any questions about it, we can take it from there. But for this point, this is the box check to say it was on the agenda.
And best practices are driven by audits and Jeff. Yep. At this time, I'd like to make an appointment to the Land Use Board of Jim Dellarina, and I would entertain a motion to do that.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Hoppercamp?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson? Yes. Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor's comment. I do have a little bit to say tonight that you may or may not be interested in. It's kind of boring, and that's about energy. But before that, I'll let you know that October's COVID numbers for Hopatcong were 103, which is up a little bit from the previous month, but something you got to pay attention to. I got a report from our solar field on the old landfill, and we fired it up in October of 2020. And I got a report up till September of 2021. So I'll give this to the press if they wanted to publish it. But in them months, we generated 1,700,904 kilowatt hours of electricity. For our little town and that little 1.9 or 1.8 megawatt solar field, I think that's admirable. It's very efficient. The solar panels they use down there are probably some of the most efficient in the world, and this shows it. To give you some idea of what we're doing, that 1,700,904 kilowatt hours is enough to power 708 electrical vehicles for a year. It's equivalent energy to approximately 46,400 gallons of gasoline, 38,744 gallons of fuel oil. The income from the solar field is 15,500 per megawatt installed. It's close to 2, but our income from that is $27,900 a year. That's going to be increased 2% every year. So to give you an example of that, in 2021, it's $27,900. In 2022, it'll be $28,450. Get up to 2025, it'll be $30,199. And this is something the town has absolutely no investment in. None of our capital invested in it except a bond and our lawyers fees to make sure that we didn't get cheated by the solar company. It's to protect us. But the point I'm making is that this is new revenue that comes to our town, and we're going to continue to do that. I'm talking to the same company now about solar on the municipal complex, which is the municipal building, the OEM building, all the DPW garage, the salt dome, and also the park and ride parking lot, and also number 3 firehouse. I'm still in talking stages. I have engineers coming up to look at it, do measurements. Everybody talks about carbon footprint, and everybody goes wacko about all this other stuff. But I believe that the Borough of Hopatcong is taking very practical steps, very cost-effective steps that help us. And if we do the solar in the municipal complex, what I'll do is propose net metering, which means all this energy from the solar field that is going into the grid. We won't get any of that. That's the agreement. We just rent the space because it's an easy lift. But if we do the municipal complex, what I'm proposing is that we do net metering. So they'll come in, the company will own the solar panels, they'll get the extract, whatever they are, they'll whatever the maintenance is, the borough will have no fingerprints on the actual physical solar installation itself. All I'm asking them to do is run a wire into my meter and do net metering. What this will allow us to do is supplement our heat, for example, in the DPW garage with electric. There's this big electric heater you hang from the ceiling, and they make heat. And it'll offset that. And again, the more that we do that with alternative energy, the less fuel oil we use, the more we reduce our carbon footprint. you know, and these are the steps that I try to, when I talk to people that are, you know, they want to do all this fancy stuff that really, you know, there's towns, for example, that commit your electric bill to some third party without you knowing it, and you can opt out if you want. I threw them out because that's not how it works. How it works is we try to be efficient on our own, and that's what we're going to do. We will look, you know, and I talk to people about hydroelectric on the dam, and they laugh. I started that 5 years ago. Why not? Why not let the water turn a wheel and make a little electricity just for the dam park if you want? But the cost of that is prohibitive, so I'm told, and it's not my dam. If it was our dam, I can guarantee you there'd be hydroelectric on it, but it's not. So all I can do is suggest. You hear a lot of talk about windmills. We do have a site in our borough that at 200 feet elevation, we do have at least a 10.5-mile-an-hour sustained wind. And I know that because I went and measured it. And that's our cell tower on Mohawk Trail. We actually climbed it and held an anemometer for 15 to 20 minutes and measured the sustained wind. So that's a little bit out, but please don't laugh. Please take that seriously. We're going to continue to look at alternative energy, but it's going to be practical. It's going to be achievable. It'll be measurable. And I was really anxious to get this report on that because it is measurable. You can see what we're doing and why. And it does make a difference. We're not going to change the world, but we'll change our little piece of the world in our own little way. And so you'll see some activity. Hopefully when you see solar panels being put on the municipal building, it's going to be a result of the engineering study that we're doing right now. And they might say, forget about it. And then, of course, I'll be disappointed, but I don't think so. It's going to be, you know, just to talk about our solar field, that's a $5 million project that we didn't spend a dime on. And they'll make that money back in 4.5 years with the SREC that they get from that energy. And I believe, looking at this output, there'll probably be a little less time than that. God bless them. But it also benefits us without spending any money. It's new sources of revenue. And we're going to continue to do that. So it's not a perfect science, but it's about the money. And how we manage your money is important. And I think having new sources of this is part of what I do with cost avoidance. You know, you can control budgets a lot of different ways, but if you're going to avoid a cost, if we're going to avoid paying a lot of electric bill by putting in solar in, then we should look at that, and which is what we're doing. And if that works, then we'll look at some other buildings. But they want, this company, most solar companies, they want mass. They want a bigger number so they can make a lot of money. They don't want to waste your time on my house or your house. They want complexes like this where they can get 0.5 megawatt, you know, and that's a big amount of money for them. So other than that, I don't have much else to say. I just want to keep you posted. We're working very hard with the DEP as Rich reported. And it's interesting because our governor said on Channel 12 News, I swear as I'm sitting here, and says PFAS in the water is not an urgent health issue in our state. He said that. And I'm trying to get the footage and I can't find the damn thing. But our governor sat right there and said it. And the reason is, and you know what? He's half right. Because nothing in our water has changed. Nothing. It's the same water you drunk 30 years ago. And by the way, it changes. And so, a couple of our wells measured 17. We had a whole lot of rain. Guess what? They measured 15. So it's influenced by volume. It's not like, please don't confuse it with oil or gasoline or some other toxic chemical that gets in your water. It's not. This is a solid material. Think about mud or something. The more water you put in, the more it dilutes it and it goes away. I oversimplify it, but that's a little bit how it is. So I don't want anybody, you know, jumping off cliffs thinking that we have a terrible health issue like COVID or something else. Our water has not changed. And I worry about people with wells. We're really focusing on it. We had a discussion today at the water meeting. I want to measure the water at the faucet. I want to know what's coming out of your faucet. And the reason I say that is, if you look at Newark, you measure the Jersey City Reservoir that Newark gets their water from. There's no lead in it. You run a faucet in the city of Newark, it's loaded with lead. So where do we measure? what I'm gonna do is measure some random points and see what that is, because PFAS is dilutable. And the more volume you use, the more it changes. So I just want to get a handle on that, and that's kind of using Mike's math sometime, but I'll challenge the DEP on that, because they know this, and they're not saying it out loud. They're frightening people, and I get a little pissed off about that, because it's not right. And they need to tell the whole story, good, bad, or indifferent. And the whole story that they should have said, if your water hasn't changed, we drop the California standards, not the federal standards. Say it out loud, just say it, because that's the truth. And that's what I want our people to know. If we had an influx of something in our water, I'd shut the wells off. Guess what, folks? The state didn't say shut your water off. What the hell's that about? If it was such a health issue that they try to make in that letter they forced us to send out, they'd say shut your water off. And by the way, if you have a refrigerator with a carbon filter in it, you don't have a problem. Because carbon takes off PFAS. And we're so low at the level is 14 now. We're measuring 15 to 17. Parts per trillion. Parts per trillion. Not million, not billion, trillion. And so if someone just shakes the wrong way, that analysis could be screwed up. That's a pretty small number. So I just want to understand that we are working on it. We're going to meet their standard. But you need to understand the backstory on why we're doing and what we're doing. And the terrible logistics we're dealing with just getting the damn filter, just getting it. The whole world is shut down. They got 500 ships loaded with stuff floating around in the ocean. They can't unload them. And so we're not the only ones affected by this supply chain fiasco. But we are, whether we like it or not. And we'll have a meeting with the DP. I'll ask for some leeway on the timetable they've given us. It's their timetable. They give you a timetable. They could care less. And by the way, they said to do this. We said okay. And they said, oh, by the way, give us $10,000 for the permit. I went nuts. That's extortion. They knew. The DEP knew what they were doing when they passed the 14 parts per trillion. They knew it. And so we try to be as honest as we can in our own imperfect way. And I'm far from perfect, but I'll tell you, if I know something, I'll tell you. And you can Google it, you can look it up, you can do whatever you want to do with it. And so with the PFAS, we're going to make that happen. We are. You know, I spoke to our federal representative about that. The money is there. Last year we got $1.4 million. We used $700,000 on the first run at the well. And we're going to use the next $700,000 to complete it. But guess what? We can't touch it because there's a calendar issue. The money is ours by statute, by law. We passed that legislation for the ARA, American Rescue. It's our money. But we can't actually do anything with it till, I guess, June. I think it runs June to June, whatever the hell the calendar is. But we have all these constraints. We want to do it, and we will do it. But good grief. You know, give us a break and allow us to do it. So that's where we're at. I hope you please feel free to data. If you need more data, you need more information, you can get a hold of Ron, you can get a hold of me. You know, we'll tell you whatever we know. We will. But there's a lot of deliberative stuff that we do too that we talk about. You know, when we're talking about ideas, and I can tell you now about what I'm proposing for the municipal building because I've worked on it for a while. But if I'd have told you that in the beginning, you'd say, what the hell are you talking about? And that's what happened with the solar field. You know, I worked on that solar field. Originally, it was for the high school. And somebody came along and said, we'll give you a new roof if you go with us. So they did, and they told us at the time, we don't need you anymore. So that's the backstory on the solar. But we did it anyhow. We did it to reduce our carbon footprint, and we did it because a new source of revenue. And it's working. And we're going to do the same thing when we get to the municipal complex. So that's how I work. And it's not perfect, but sometimes even a clock is right. Bad clock is right 2 times a day, right, John?
Yeah.
So, but we're going to continue working so that we can control our taxes, that we can keep our town affordable. And this is about the money. You know, I'm not a tree hugger, but this is about the money, and it actually makes sense. So, anyhow, that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Thank you. I didn't think you were gonna stop.
Tell us how you really feel.
What do you mean by
No.
that? What do you do with that?